Yeah, so I'm recording it now, yeah. So just picked up a customer, just telling me about a travel experience. Where was we before? So Cuba.
Cuba.
And he was just telling me about, I remember you saying about Fidel Castro, when you go and visit, you've got to line up a certain way. It's a beautiful country. Anything else that springs to mind?
It was just very humbling to see. So they've got a ration book, so like I was saying, they've got two different types of currency. So they've got the local currency, and then they've got the tourist currency. So we went to go see like a ration shop. So with your normal currency that you get as part of your normal wages with the normal currency, you go in, you have a ration book, and you get I guess a bit like the war, you get 3 eggs a week, bit of meat, bit of rice. So it was really humbling because when we did these homestays, and when we stayed in these people's houses, they would cook us breakfast as part of the tour that we were doing. So they would cook us breakfast. That was part of the trip that we got. So it would be, what do you want for breakfast? And they would give us 3 eggs. And then after a while, we realised actually that's their rations that they're giving us. So
okay, that was generous.
Yeah, and it was really nice to see, and it was nice to be able to give back. And we've done some fundraising to buy, so we took extra luggage. So it was me and my auntie. We took 2 extra bags as well as our bags, and we filled it with pens, pencils, chewing gum, toiletries to give away to these people that we stayed in their houses with. So just to say thanks for letting us stay in their houses for a week.
Okay. See, the rations, is that a permanent situation?
I think it is, and I think that's to do with their communist society. So I think it's to do with their government. I think it got better when Obama came in power, around they opened the borders a bit more and it was easier to trade. But I think Trump has sort of eliminated or gone back on that, so it's quite difficult for Cubans to trade with big cities. It's only 50 miles away from Florida.
Okay, so there's still them restrictions, and you think it could get worse because they've been reversed with Trump?
Yeah, so even now you can't fly from America to Cuba. You have to fly from Canada, as an example.
Oh, still? After all these years, yeah?
Yeah, so when we went, we had to fly to Canada to then fly to Cuba.
Okay.
So it's interesting, and no one will speak badly about the government, but it is interesting. It's interesting to learn about different ways of living. Even if I don't agree with it or other people don't agree with it, it's still interesting to learn about other cultures and things.
1,000,000%. That's why I like to start recording, because I love perspectives. So I just call it Taxi Podcast Perspective, because I think it's important, isn't it, to get different people's perspectives, and some people might not agree with certain perspectives or belief systems, but I think it's important to just have an open mind and just listen, learn and grow.
Yeah, and that's the thing, if I'd never been to any of these places, I never would have learned about it. It's stuff that you don't really learn about in school.
Yeah.
So I find fair enough if you like to go on a holiday and spend a week all inclusive. I have done that before, where you just like to spend a week on a beach and stuff, and do little day trips out, but without going and staying in these people's houses or learning different things. I wouldn't have known as much as what I do now.
Yeah, definitely. I think you do get more, like you said, each to their own. If someone wants to go and just go the all-inclusive sun and sand, but I'm like you, I think it's nice to experience how other people live.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. But Cuba, I've never been. It's definitely on my list at some point after the other countries I mentioned before. Anywhere else that you've been on your travels that comes to mind?
I recently went to Sri Lanka.
Okay, Sri Lanka, okay.
And they're currently, we went not last year, the year before, so 2023, 2022. It was put on the no-fly list from the UK government. I think they were dealing with an internal war, having a war between politicians and things.
I can remember that a few years ago. I think around when you went, that must have been the back end of it. So Yeah, I could understand it being a bit of a red flag on it.
So we were careful when we went, but I think we went at the right time. So we went when it was put on rather than being on a red warning list, it was a amber warning list.
Okay.
So go at your own discretion. But honestly, it was fine. Like there was no, everyone was really friendly again. Like that was really nice. We did again through another tour company. This time it was like in hotels rather than homestays, and it was really nice. We got a personal taxi driver who would drive us to different locations. I don't think we would have been able to see as much as we did without booking through the company. So we ended up doing lots of different places in Sri Lanka. We went on like a train, like an old-fashioned train. We went to go see like where the tea was picked, and that was really nice. That was interesting.
How long was you there for?
So I did about 2 weeks there, and then I flew from there to the Maldives.
Okay.
Now the Maldives is expensive, but so that's why I thought Sri Lanka is not far. It's an internal flight for them. Essentially, it's like an hour or.
Is that all? Yeah, from Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was cheaper than what it was expensive, but it was cheaper than what it would have been if we flew from the UK to the Maldives.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Really nice.
Like paradise.
Yeah, like paradise. But if you're not, a honeymooning couple, it can get a bit boring. You're sort of just on an island, a beautiful island. You can do. The Maldives is made up of lots of little smaller islands that have all got like their own hotel chains and things on them. So the island that we stayed on was just one hotel. So we booked, I think, 3 days all inclusive. You could do snorkeling and activities like that, and it was lovely, really nice food, nice people, nice activities. But to do it for a week, if you weren't a honeymooning couple, there was, I think, one of the days we went and it was like a storm, so the weather was awful. You couldn't sunbathe, you couldn't go out. So if we sat in our room, it was me and my auntie that went, so we sat in our room and played Uno or cards or something. So if you weren't a honeymooning couple and you went and the weather was bad, you might be a bit disappointed. But that was really nice. And I'm glad that I got that opportunity to go, because I think it would have been way too expensive if I flew from the UK.
Okay, definitely doing the internal flight.
Yeah.
Did you go out party or anything like that? Is there a nightlife over there? Is it a lot of Brits, expats, or?
In Sri Lanka, yes, there were some places that had expats, but I'd say like retired British citizens, and a few Canadians as well, and Americans that sort of settled over there.
Okay.
But in the main, I'm not a big partier, so we didn't go out drinking or anything like that. We went more to just do sightseeing, have a look at different bits of history and stuff. That's the stuff that I enjoy rather than partying.
The partying aspect. So where is it you haven't been that you'd love to go?
I think more of India, so New Delhi and places like that would be an experience. But Europe, I've been quite far afield, but I've not been to many places in Europe. Obviously, I've been to Spain on little holidays or trips of school and stuff, but I've never. I think I'm saving that. I'm thinking while I'm young, try and go as far away as possible. Yeah. While I'm still young enough to do it, and then as I'm older, it's. I just think of my grandparents. They're retired. They're in their 60s and 70s now. They wouldn't be able to go to some of these farer places where you need to walk upstairs and climb a mountain or whatever else there is to do. Whereas there's nicer bits in Europe that I think is easily accessible. And I think we're lucky being in England that most places in Europe are only about 4 or 5 hour flight away. Yeah,
makes sense. Totally strategically. Yeah, like you say, get that. India, you could go so many. It's so big, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's so much to see, so you'll probably be going there a few times.
And then I enjoy the Caribbean. So I've been to Cuba, I've been to Antigua, Barbuda. So all of those little islands are really nice.
You should have your travel blog. Imagine if you'd have a travel blog right now of all of these places. It's good to you can build on it. That's why I like to promote people, know if they've got a passion or an interest, to try and build a platform. And what I mean by that is like a website that, let's say you want Lucy's travel website, for example, and you can build on it, whether it's that or your other profession, what you said you do before. You can build on it over years, by just posting and doing stuff, and then eventually you can kind of monetize it. Let's say, for example, your profession, what you said you do before. Imagine like you'd had a personal platform or website in relation to it. It opens up like a driver's license. It opens up so many doorways, doesn't it? Because people would go on it. Let's say you did want to go independent, and people went on it and seeing all the work that you do and stuff like that. Then it's a bit of a social proof, isn't it?
Yeah.
Potentially, and it just opens up new opportunities.
I did think at one point of writing a book, but not a book, like a picture book. World's Worst Toilets.
Oh, okay. Super niche.
It is niche, but one of them.
You get traffic as well. Some of the people like some different things online, don't they?
No, I've been to some countries where, and it's different cultures and things. But even in the UK, you get some grotty toilets. But
definitely, yeah.
I've climbed up mountains before, and it's a hole in the ground and things. So, that was sort of like a bit of a niche, I guess, around write about these different toilets. Like I'd say where I've been in these places and what I'd recommend to do. Maybe not the toilets, but different sightseeing places.
Definitely. I think when you travel and you see a lot of things like that, and when you post about it as well as the other experiences, like you said before, it all helps with your content, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I should be better. I'm not as good at social media as maybe other people are and things, but like, I've been to lots of places where I could write travel blogs and things, and I just need to get better at documenting them.
Yeah.
When we did Thailand, my auntie was writing a book of like a diary.
Okay.
So she's done a couple of those for the places that she's been to, which is a good idea. So
who's that? Your cousin?
My auntie. So
okay, does that what you do? Okay.
She's the one that I normally go travelling with.
Okay, so she's got that desire to see the world.
Yeah.
As well, yeah. But she writes about it.
She writes a little diary, so she'll write, today we went to go see this, and
okay.
This is the highlight of things, just so we can help remember what we've done. In some of these places where we've been, when we went to Asia, she'd been there for 3 months, and then I'd met her for part of her travel, so she'd taken 3 months of work to travel, whereas I'd taken holiday between, I think it was finishing my A-levels and starting my job, so I only went for a shorter amount of time. But it's interesting, I do think sometimes, should I take a 3 month and then go off and do things, but I've got quite a lot of, not responsibilities, but like rent and stuff like that. It's difficult to take time off work. So what I try and do is save up all my holiday and do 1 or 2 big holidays a year where I go and do these things, so I can still see the bits that I need to see and sort of cram it into a shorter space of time.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know what you mean. For example, there was a guy, I tell everyone about this guy. I picked him up from hitchhiking to Liverpool. It's extreme, but there's a couple of situations, or let's say models, what people do. So this guy was extreme, hitchhiking to Liverpool. I gave him a lift. I said, why are you hitchhiking? So they didn't want to do the 9 to 5, yeah? So basically I want to visit all the countries in the world. I think he was about 24 and he was with a girl who was about 21.
Yeah.
So he'd been to 60 countries. So I said, so how are you doing that? So his method and his model, what he was using, he said, look, here's my phone, yeah? Google Maps. He said, I don't even need credit because Google Maps works, yeah? He said, I've got an instrument which I've just left in Manchester Airport, and I use that to get me money to get tickets to fly to places. He said, so then there's my flights covered. He said, food, because I've been to poverty-stricken countries, if I'm in the airport or if I see someone wasting food, I don't mind asking them for it. Plus, he said he approaches shops at the end of the night and he just says what he's doing and they give him food. So he says, that's me food sorted. He said, I use couch surfing, which I didn't know a few years ago. It's like a bit Airbnb. So he says, I use that so I get couch anywhere where I travel to. And he said, if they haven't got a couch or I'm in a country and they haven't got the app, I'll sleep in the park or the railway station. So he said, that model, I can visit all these countries. Now, it is extreme to where I've picked up, like, there was 4 people, 2 couples, and their method was bar work and chef work. So between them, they travelled the world because they said, we can always get work as a chef. And then the other method is, for some people, is trying to like save, invest, maybe digital nomad, make some money with a platform online, or some property investments. Or the other method is like what you say, which a lot of people do that. There was who just save the money and then they'll travel and then they'll save and then they just keep doing it.
Just depends on your circumstances. Like,
Definitely.
you know, some people can afford to, you know, if you've got commitments, you know, at home, you might not be able to do that nomad life and things. So I find that it's easier for me to be able to save. It means that sometimes the holidays that I do go on are more crammed. So I'm doing a lot of things. You know, I'm spending a day or half a day in, you know, if I'm traveling in a country, depending on the size of the country, I'll have to plot out the bits that I want to see, or I'll spend half a day doing one sightseeing activity, half a day doing another sightseeing activity, and keep moving so that I'm able to see as much as I can in such a short space of time.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Like you said, it's relative, isn't it, to people's circumstances?
Yeah, and it just depends on your budget as well. Like, you know, I've done some more lavish holidays, but I've saved to be able to do that because in my head, you know, I think if I'm only going to be able to go here once, I don't want to think back and go, I'm really sad I didn't do that thing because I didn't do it. So sometimes I think about the thing first and then the money later, which is different to some people who are on, you know, I've done smaller budget holidays where, you know, I've stayed in big hostels and things like that. But other holidays, like when I was talking about New Zealand, that one I don't, because it's so far away, it's not somewhere where I think I'd be able to get the opportunity to go back to again in the future without planning and saving and things like that. So while I was there, I thought I may as well do as much as I can while I can. So it was really, you know, a good experience. Each place that I visited brought different experiences, different things, different cultures. You know, I never thought I liked history until I started travelling. You know,
Okay.
I never liked history in school really. I always thought it was boring, but
Screw on you.
yeah, and you know, school is boring, but actually after going travelling, there's stuff that, you know, I'd never know about until I went.
Are you okay, yeah?
Are you right to just go down?
Of course, yeah. Take a right, is
yeah,
it,
just a right down here.
No, thanks for the video,
No, it's been
the
good.
perspective.